Hello YouTube, this is Jeffrey J. Kelly, the senior instructor for the Xilin Martial Arts Center in Corvallis, Oregon. Today we're practicing Pekiti Tirsia Kali. We've been covering in previous episodes basic footwork, basic triangular footwork, the basic number one strike. Today we're going to cover number two strike. As we mentioned before, there's 12 basic angles of attack. But the most important are number one and number two. They cover both sides of the body. So for number two, what we're going to do is first we'll get in a basic stance. And with the basic stance, you want your feet close to each other. We'll cover this in another video. But we want to have free movement of the waist here. So from a number two, it comes from, number one is coming from the right side in this case. Number two comes from the left side, or the opposite side, or as we refer to it, the number two side. All right, so number two is going to line up or chamber on your shoulder horizontally. This is a horizontal strike. Okay? You want your hand in close to your body, not so close that you choke yourself, not so far out that you don't develop any power. So a little closer in than your elbow. Okay, the left hand, of course, the tapping hand is up here. This is going to be a broken strike. We're going to cover both broken and fluid, if you remember from the last video. All right, so what we're going to do here now is twist to the left side, develop power. We're going to come forward. The left hand, the tip is going to come out on the left side, striking your left ear with the tip. You always want to try to strike with the last inch or so of the tip. This is where most of the power is developed. Okay, we're going to come out and come across. Now you'll notice the difference if you've seen our number one strike. Number one comes here, the hand is lower, the hand crosses the center line. Number two, because of body mechanics, that's not the case. Here the stick is going to be completely horizontal. Okay, it's going to strike. Again, you have to angle the tip out slightly here, otherwise you're just striking with the body of the stick. So you're going to angle it slightly here. What the advantage here, or what you have to do for this now, is open the shoulder. Okay, we've got to expand the shoulder a little bit. If I don't, if I keep this tense, it's going to limit the motion of my stick. Again, I'm hitting in the center. So I'm going to open the shoulder to get my strike here. Okay? So for a broken strike, remember, a broken strike hits its target and then returns on the same angle or follows through gently to the opposite side. So let's go here. I'm going to twist backwards, keep it horizontal, come forward, and strike. Anyway, come back, and strike. So watching ahead, looking ahead at your opponent. You're not fighting your stick, you're fighting your opponent. Okay, here. Now you'll notice this hand, the tapping hand, is not being used. When we did our number one strike, we filled the gap with that. Number two strike, there's not really a gap. Now later on, advanced techniques, we will use the tap, but for basic training, we're just going to leave it there. Okay, and this is a power strike and a broken strike here. So let's do about 10 of those. So we're going to come forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, some similarities between broken number one, broken number two. Again, you want the hand does not make a huge circle. Again, if you do this, you can see I'm exposed here, here, here. Okay, you're just inviting your opponent to strike you. I want to get through this danger zone as quickly as I can by simply moving my hand actually more in the straight diagonal line. Okay, as much as we can. So here. So I get that out of the way. This makes it a fairly safe strike because you can get out of the way quickly. Okay. The other advantage of this who would I use? Peter, come on up here. And so one of the advantages here with number one, because of the body mechanics, it's difficult for me to strike effectively very close. Okay, I have to be about here to get the tip in here. If I come in here, I'm not really striking with the tip. The opposite is true with the number two. The number two, I can hit from a distance with no problem, but I can also come in very tight. So I can even be almost chest to chest here and strike him. Okay, shoulder, chest, ribs. Okay, with good power. Okay, so this is very useful and tight. Thank you. Right. So broken number one. Again, also we talked about good for targeting the hand. This one's even easier. You stand here and wherever they move their hand, you just take it out. Okay. So the next form is a fluid blow. And remember, a fluid blow goes through the target, continues on the same line to the opposite side. Okay? And the idea, of course, is that the power goes all the way through. You're not stopping here. Okay, so it's flowing through. Okay? Again, you want to make sure you go through your target before you break the wrist. And we're going to come back to a number one, a perfect number one strike here. Okay? So with number two, we switch backwards, twist backwards, and fluid strike, and we go one, strike here, and come back and strike. And when you come back, you can drop the stick, whatever you want to do. That's not important at this moment, right? So twist, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So that's a fluid strike. All right, now if you've watched the previous video, hopefully you've learned the number one strike. You're comfortable with that. Now you have the number two, both broken and fluid. I would suggest you practice the broken blows far more than the fluid blows. Broken blows are much harder. They're also much more useful and more deceptive. Fluid blows have a lot of power, yes, but they're easier to track. But in any case, if you've studied both, we'll just put them together now. These are the first of the 2 of the 12 attacks. So we'll just come back and do broken number one. Then it's going to come through, just relax your wrist. Come back through, switch your feet now, left in front. Come back, strike number two. I'm going to switch feet, this comes through, and now we have that gap, so we're going to tap. Okay, so we come through again, 1, switch feet, 2. Make sure you twist the waist. Come back, tap, 1, 2, tap, 1, 2, tap, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. You want to mention too, sometimes it may not look like I'm twisting my waist that far. I want you to emphasize that waist twist in the beginning. As you progress, it's going to become more internal and more of a body motion. So I don't really need to overemphasize this here because I've spent the time to refine the strikes. And ultimately, that's what matters, refining the strikes. If you have an opponent who's swinging really wide here to the number one and you do a number one and yours is more refined and more direct, you're going to counter them every time. Here. So she does a number one, kind of out, and that was a good one, but I practiced more. Ready? 1. So I'm going to get her every time. Hopefully not. If she goes slower, she won't get hit. Here. Okay? And remember, when we hit the stick, we are not attacking the stick. As I like to joke, does that hurt? No. It doesn't hurt Mr. Stick. Okay? So if I hit her stick in practice, I'm hitting her hand. And I try to avoid what just happened and actually hit her. So if we were practicing, I'd be hitting here. And you'll notice that I'm striking here rather than the tip. That's because I'm getting there sooner, not faster, sooner. So ideally, as beginners, we're going to get here at the same time. Until you refine your strikes. Thank you. All right, and then you're going to be more efficient. It's going to be easier for you. So give that some practice. I want to thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Jeff Kelly with the Xilin Martial Arts Center in Corvallis, Oregon. And this has been Pekiti Tirsia Kali. Thank you.